do it. It will help you more than you think that it will. Hello beautiful, amazing people, welcome back to my channel, or for those of you who are new here, hi, how are you? My name is Eleftheria and I'm a front-end developer. In this video and in this whole series, I am answering your questions. So the way to ask me a question is either to leave a comment below or go to the community tab in my YouTube channel and leave a question there, or preferably go to Twitter, which is Batsou Elef, and use the hashtag ElefDoesCode and ask me a question. Anyway, today we will talk about jobs and interviews and what kind of questions you should be expecting to the interviews, because this is a very big subject and we cannot cover everything in just one video. I decided to talk mostly on how I got my jobs, and before that how I got my internships. And before we start with this video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. That would be awesome. So let's get started with the questions. The question today is coming from a Greek viewer, so the comment will be in Greek, but I will do the translate. And Nick, ευχαριστώ για την ερώτηση. What about your personal interviews? What kind of questions you would have to answer, like both personal and technicals? What do you think it's important to mention in an interview? So, okay, another small thing here. I know the lighting isn't very good today, but it's getting dark outside and I wanted to shoot that video. Okay, now we can start. So, I've done 2 internships and I've also done 2 jobs. Now I'm in my second job. So, first thing first, to get an internship. Usually, at least in Europe, it's not very hard to get an internship. And I had like an internship in my country, which is Greece, and another internship in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. So I guess that I have quite a bit of experience in internships, because the company usually won't pay the money, but the institution that you are coming from will pay you some money to do the job. Most probably the company will want you. And if you show them that you really want to do the job and you're not there just to party or do whatever, but you are interested in the company, in the people that are working there, in the product, you're interested in coding, you're interested in getting better, then most probably you won't have a problem and they will get you. I remember that in my first internship they were asking me questions like what's like in my university and what kind of projects we do there, if I have any experience, if I have something that I'm working on my own. And they also asked me to show them some projects on GitHub. At that time, to be honest, I didn't have anything on GitHub, so I said I don't have anything. They asked me if I had anything published or if I had anything online, and again, to be honest, everything was on my laptop, so I didn't have anything to show them. So my advice here would be either to upload your projects on GitHub or upload your projects somewhere that your managers can see, because as a young developer, maybe I was like 21 years old and I didn't have anything published, and now I am 26 years old and I have everything published and everything out there. So take this from me: if you have a project, even if it's very small, if it's something very tiny, doesn't matter, just get it out there. And as we were talking in the previous episode that we were talking about portfolios, just do a portfolio, and even if you don't think that you have anything to put inside that portfolio, trust me, you have a link in the description box to the previous video of what you should have in your portfolio, because that would have helped me when I was 21 years old. Fast forward, when I was 23 years old, 23. I had just graduated from the university and I was feeling quite lost. I knew that I wanted to do the internship. I knew that I wanted to go abroad, but I wasn't very sure about what subject this internship should be about, because I knew that I wanted to be a front-end developer, but I didn't knew the technology that I wanted to work with, or I didn't know if I want to go to a startup or maybe in a bigger company. So my advice there and what's my experience like is maybe try to go to a startup, because that way you will learn more. Not that in a big company you're not learning, but in a startup you will have more people to help you, and the people will be more friendly towards you, and I think that they will guide you better than in a big company. Maybe the big company will have more money, and without money they can say, oh, go to that conference, and in that conference you will learn that thing, or go to that event and in that event you will learn that thing. But I believe that as a young developer you should work more with people that are already around you than trying to learn through meetups and online tutorials and stuff like that, because like you can go to a meetup on your own. You don't need a big company to do that for you, or you can watch a tutorial by your own. You don't need a big company. So my advice there is to try to find like maybe a startup, and I think that there you will learn more things. Anyway, if you want to go somewhere abroad, the questions that they asked me there was, why do you want to go abroad? Why don't you stay in your country? What do you expect that it will be different there? And my answer, to this kind of questions was that I'm interested about the people and I'm interested about the culture. So for me, it was not only coding, but it was also meeting or understanding how other people work and understanding how other developers work. So for me it was like really important not only to stay to my country, but also go somewhere else and experience that something else. So if you have the opportunity to go abroad, then totally my advice would be to do it. It will help you more than you think that it will, because you will learn faster and you will learn more things that probably you wouldn't have learned in your home, in your country. So let's go to part 2, which is not internships but real jobs. And for the first job that I had, I didn't have, of course, any experience rather than this 2 internships, but these internships were only for a very small amount of time. One of them was for both of them was for 3 months, so it was 3 and 3 months, total 6 months. Not a lot of experience for someone that is trying to get a job. So what I did there, I applied to a lot of companies, like really a lot of companies. Pretty much I knew what I wanted to do, but again I wasn't sure about the technologies or the libraries or the frameworks that I wanted to use. So the thing that I did, I was working mostly with JavaScript, because I knew I wanted to be a front-end developer. So I was working more with JavaScript, because JavaScript is something that everything is built on. And at that time I also had my portfolio. So on my portfolio I had uploaded all my projects, and when it was time to present something, of course I had something to present. Now they didn't only ask me about these projects that I had on my portfolio, but they also asked me questions about my university, like what subjects I did there, what I liked there, what I didn't like there, and also what was my final projects, because I graduated from an engineering university, and there we have to do like a big final projects, which is like about a semester. So it's really important to do a good job there. If you are going to university like this, then you know that this project is really important. As for the questions that they asked me on a personal level, I mean not a technical one, was again, why do I want to work at that specific company and not anywhere else? Questions like if I believe I'm a team player or not, and I mean, stuff like that. I will have a list for you. I will insert it right now with the questions that I got from them, and also these are questions that I found online, and before I go to that interview, I started looking at and I started to trying to find an answer to this kind of questions. So I will leave down in the description box some articles that were very helpful for me while I was trying to find a job. And an extra tip here is really answer the questions by your own when or before you go to the interviews. I mean, there are questions like, what is your biggest strength? You have to think that, because if someone asks you something like that, maybe you don't have like a very quick answer, but if you go there, you will not have the time to think so much. So really prepared for that, for this kind of questions. What I did was to make a Word on Drive, on Google Drives, and I will have all my answers there. That was quick and easy, so I could update that Word sheet very quickly if something changed or if I believe that I had a better answer, because I had some interviews and maybe they were asking something different or something a little bit different, so I would go every time to that Word sheet and I would update my answer. Also, I would add some questions that I didn't read, like in a paper or in an article. So that was very helpful, and it's like a really big tip. Don't just Google about questions that you may got in interviews. Really focus on answering that questions. And when I say answering, write them down, like really write them down. Also, an extra tip here is that a lot of companies, if your first language or if your native language isn't English, but because most of the companies are big, they will want from you to speak in English. So answer the some questions in English as well. So if you're not very good with English, again, in that paper, have like a translation thing. And that's what I also did. So my native language is Greek. So I had like an answer in Greek and the same answer translated in English. Yes, that's a lot of time. And yes, that's a lot of effort. But this is something that will totally help you. So, as for that, all was for my first job, and that's how I was like filling the gaps for the things that I didn't knew that I should have done for my first job. Now, going forward a few years that I had my second job, and the way that I took that job was to not doing anything, I guess. I had quitted from my first job and I had just started my master's. And yep, if you didn't know that, I'm doing a master's in graphical arts and multimedia. So when I was there, I had like some pause, like 1 or 2 months, like a gap thing, and I just said on my LinkedIn that hey, I'm looking for jobs. And then my current boss thought to call me for an interview, which I'm very grateful for because he's like a great man and I really love my current job. And then, like, of course, he asked me some questions and stuff like that, which is like the most common things. But something that I did a mistake, and that's why I would like to mention it here, is that he asked me like to put a grade on my skills. For example, I said that I know JavaScript and he asked me, how well do you know JavaScript? And from 0 to 10, what degree you would put in yourself? And I was like too much optimistic, I guess, about my knowledge, which is kind of bad again, I guess. And not only JavaScript, but for AngularJS, because also we're working with AngularJS. And I remember that I had like a very good degree, like let's say 7 or 8. So I thought that I know pretty much anything, but that wasn't the case. So I overestimated myself. I didn't do that just for a purpose. I did that because I didn't really know that I don't know so many things about AngularJS. So what I'm trying to say here is that try not to either overestimate or underestimate it yourself, and try to be as honest as possible, because imagine that this person takes you to their job and then he realizes that you don't know anything. You don't want something like that. So try to be as open and honest as you can. Now, for the last part of this question, which was what are some important things to mention in an interview? For me, that would be, of course, some questions. You should totally ask questions to your boss or the man that take you the interviews, and these questions would be like, am I going to work alone, or I'm going to be in a team? Is this position a new position, or is it because someone else left before me? And am I going to working from 9 to 5? Am I going to be possible to work remotely? And also stuff like that. Again, in the description box, I will have some articles that you can find more questions that can help you to prepare yourself for the interviews. So, yep guys, I think that's about it for that video. We did talk a lot about interviews, and it's something that I really like. So if you have more questions, just leave a comment below and I will do my best to answer them. My final and biggest tip would be to, everywhere you go, show that you have passion for it, really have passion for it, and not only that, but you want to learn more and more and more. You don't want to have to stop at some point, but you always want to learn. This is something that you have to show to your boss, and this is something that it will really help you, trust me. So, if you like that video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It would be awesome, and it really means a lot to me. Don't forget to ask me your questions. I hope that you like that video, and see you really soon. Have an amazing day.